time for 7 racing, 310R and 270R UK Championship here as they head their way around the Oulton Park circuit, ready for yet another race. Of course, rolling starts across the 2 categories and plenty of drama, I have absolutely no doubt. Slightly less power than obviously what we had in the races earlier on in the day, but still plenty of drama to be dealt with and plenty of attempts to be raced around here. So many good overtaking opportunities, the likes of that run into Shell Oils. This corner here, of course, at the Britain chicane, Hislops, plenty of places for these drivers to work their way through. Of course, a 20-car field that we'll have to work our way through as well, which will see Ben Winrow starting from that pole position and potentially putting himself in position for an excellent victory should things play out in the way that he'd wish. Of course, not going to be an easy race, must be said. Here's a look at the starting grid then. The 1-2-4, Ben Winrow starting from pole position. Tim Steele starting alongside with Paul Goldstein, who was topping the qualifying up until some late drama. Russ Ollivant will be starting from 4th position in the 33 as well. Behind that, on row number 3 of the grid, it'll be Phil Ingram starting from 5th position with Craig Denman starting from 6th. Caroline Everett will be starting from 7th position. She'll be alongside Rob Good in 8th at the moment on row number 4. Behind that is Scott Parker in 9th position with Fraser Riddington starting from 10th position. Simon Sharrock starting from 11th on row number 6 alongside Michael Curley starting from 12th. The second half of the grid also sees James Hall starting from 13th position alongside Amanda Anderson, and then of course Ian Anderson starting from 15th with David Hall starting from 16th position. James McCulloch will be starting from 17th spot with Neville Sykes, then Marcello Spada, and of course Merton Wood starting from the 20th and final positions on the grid. So we're ready to go racing. We're almost in position to flick our way through the final corner and head our way back onto the start-finish straight and check out. For some of those that are higher up in the charity, if you haven't joined us before, Stuart Bell, Harry Ear, they are up there in the 310R Championship. They are absent from this round, as is David Tongue, who's in 4th position in the 270R Championship, also absent from this round. The rest of the top 5 in each are present and accounted for and ready to go racing. So, on to the start-finish straight then. They're about to go and are ready for the first of 2 races here on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. Who's going to come out on top in this opening race of the day? We'll have to wait and see as things are about to head our way down into that first corner with Ben Winrow and Tim Steele on the front row of the grid. 25 minutes onto the clock and we are racing then into that first corner. And once again, that inside line should prevail in the hands of Ben Winrow as he heads his way in side by side and even 3 wide there as Russ Ollivant was trying to fire his way through. A bit of a kick of oversteer and a couple of cars running out wide at Old Hall as we typically see, but a great start from Russ Ollivant, who's already worked his way from 4th up into 2nd position with an aggressive move at the first corner. Saw that light blue car just filling the mirrors, trying to work its way through, and did indeed do so. Muscled his way past Tim Steele in the 53 and the 150 as well of Paul Goldstein. I mean, that one's pretty easy to pick out, and all that with the slightly chromed shiny gold there in 3rd position at the moment on the racetrack. There is the 53 behind. That is Tim Steele in the sort of like the grey and the yellow car, or rather the silver rather, and the yellow car. Back up into 4th position. Did start the one from the front row of the grid, already dropping back down the order, courtesy of that race start and that aggressive move from Russ Ollivant. A couple of looks in the background as well as drivers navigate their way through the Hislop chicane. There has been a couple of cars running out wide here on the exit, rather of the Britain chicane, now into the Hislop chicane. Bit of a lock-up from the race leader then, Ben Winrow, as the pressure will be dished on from Russ Ollivant as they flick through the right, then the left, then back through the right at Knickerbrook before climbing the hill at Clay Hill. The top 3 separating themselves ever so slightly from who is now Tim Steele in that 4th position. Now into Druids as the cars slide their way around. I've seen a couple of cars run out wide here. You've got to be careful of that because the slightly raised curb. And once again, it's not a good exit from Tim Steele in the background. There could be a position switch, also one potentially coming in for the race lead. So Tim Steele drops back now down into 4th position as the number 5 of Phil Ingram is able to work their way through. Potentially the door is open also for a couple of other drivers to work their way into the mix. But here's the battle for the race lead then. The number 33 of Russ Oulton started this race from 4th position after a lap and a bit. Is now into the race lead at present as they now work their way down the second straight as they head their way into what is really the second and the third corner as they head their way through Cascades. And the position switch for the lead has been confirmed then. Ben Winrow down in the second position. Russ Oulton up into the race lead. You've got Paul Goldstein as well in the mix as well. 1, 2 and 3 very close. Tim Steele did drop back then into 5th, so Phil Ingram has worked their way up the order then, now running in the 4th position. Steele not quite having the speed of those around, but still trying to hang on with that top group. Of course, Tim Steele, the grey marking there on the left-hand side. You might think, obviously, with the 270Rs and the 310Rs, that is not a 270R, that is a 310RC. So those with the grey marks as the 310RC category still classified in the championship as a 310R, if you wanted to know. So it's not as if it's a lack of power, but just so you know, still definitely running in the same category as these behind. It's the light blues that you see on the tower there. That's where you'll see the 270s, and the pinks, the 270Rs. So, back up to the race lead then, with plenty of time still left to go in this race. It's Oulton leading. Obviously, you can see there on the timing sheet, it was 7,000 of a second across the line. I get the feeling it might be quite close once more, as the battle for 4th position has once again seen Steele return up into that 4th position. Now they're getting Denton into the mix, sorry, Denham rather. Craig Denham, who's working his way into the mix, into the fight with Steele at present. Can't quite complete the move, which does indeed mean that Tim Steele back up into that spot. There comes a look down the inside though, an aggressive move from the 29 of Craig Denham, and so returns his way through then into 5th position as Ingram has checked out into the distance, having set the fastest lap of the race as well, charging down on our top group as the battle for 5th brews, and brews bigger as well as it's getting tighter and tighter. Here comes a look to the outside. The 53 of Tim Steele started from the front row of the grid, looks to the outside as they head their way down into the island bend. Can't quite make that move. Switch for the race lead though. Bit of a lock up as well in the attempt in doing so. I was a little worried he was going to run wide there, but it is indeed Ben Winrow from pole position back up into the race lead after that mistake. And the issue for Oulton going through the, so I was going to say the mistaken issue was actually from Ben Winrow. I'll correct myself, because obviously it was a lock-up that came from his side, but the door was open. Winrow to come through. That was a little bit wide though. And here comes another switch for the race lead then. So Ben Winrow just gone up into the race lead. Oulton says, I'll have that one back, thank you very much. Looks to the outside as they head their way through into the Hislop chicane. Ben Winrow says, not that easy, mate. And then still hangs on to that race lead. Fantastic battle here with the top 4. Will they be joined once more by Denham, who isn't that far behind and is closing up now that it's been released into 5th position. Into Druids they go. It is still then Winrow leading from, of course, the 33 of Russ Oulton. From the 150 of Goldstein, then of course from Phil Ingram, and then now joined in the fight by Denham. There comes the outside Oulton. This one might not work out, and so we'll have to settle for 2nd spot, but a look to the outside of the first corner. You can make that outside line work at Old Hall that first turn, but it's not normally the easiest one to do. You need to have a good bit of speed coming out of the final corner at Lodge, up Dearly, and then into that first corner. A bit of a slide coming through then from Phil Ingram, and now into the fight. It is the top 5 all embroiled in this fight. They have officially been joined by Craig Denham as well. So Phil Ingram also in the fight. To be fair, Tim Steele's not that far off the rear end of this one as well, nor is Caroline Everett. This is going to be a big pack race for the race lead, as Oulton with the outside line as they head their way through the island bend. It's going to be the number 1, 2, 4, Ben Winrow, still leading the race then after a potential switch of the lead going the way of Oulton. I think this is how it's going to race, this the style of race, and the slightly less power, but still with how slipstream hungry these cars are. They do basically make a pack race of a circuit like this at Oulton Park. and it is once again a switch for the lead. So it's Oulton leading from the 124 of Winrow. It might well be the 150 though of Paul Goldstein though in that second position in the near future. Alas, it doesn't switch around in that favour, so it is still Oulton from the 124 of Winrow from Goldstein. Phil Ingram still remains in 4th position. Tim Steele though in 6th, has closed right up to the rear end once more of Craig Denham, whilst also defending from Caroline Everett as well in the number 9 car. They are all very, very close in this battle. You've got the 36 of Rob Good as well. You've got the number 30 of Fraser Riddington, who's in 9th position. And to be fair, chuck into the mix Simon Sharrock as well, who's in that 10th position. And to be fair, even those behind, Scott Parker and such, they're all still basically in this train. It's really 11 for the race lead. As much as the early stage of the race were looking like the top group was about to pull away, it didn't quite work out in that favour, and just with the battling they've been having, once again a switch for the race lead. Just not going to unfold, and no one's going to be able to run away, it seems, with 8 minutes down, 17 left to go. It's Oulton leading from Winrow. Ingram is now up into 3rd position, having set the fastest lap of the race also, having got past Paul Goldstein and the previous lap as well. And here he goes for 2nd spot as well. Comes the number 5 of Phil Ingram to the outside into the island bend. Can't quite do that one. Well, definitely was committing to the overtake as they flicked their way through the left-hander and then down into the banking and the right. I mean, Ingram's looking fast at present. He's looking like there might well be a victory. Then again, how can you say the opposite about anyone else in this group? How can you say that no one's looking like they're a worthy contender for this race victory? They're all fast enough and they're all feisty enough to be able to do it. They all have the capability of doing so. There's Caroline Everett in what is now 7th position, same position she started the race in. As the defensive line comes in from the 1-2-4 of Ben Winrow, trying to keep Phil Ingram at bay. Paul Goldstein being a little bit more patient than others during this race. A little bit of a clip of the grass as well. I think that might have been from Tim Steele heading through into Knickerbrook. Might have even been behind that as it might have been Tim Steele, or as Denham dropped back. No, sorry, let me correct myself. Caroline Everett has got past Tim Steele. That's what I was confused about. So Caroline Everett is actually running in 6th position, not 7th. So that position switch has gone in favour of Everett. There was a look to the inside then coming in for your race lead. Ben Winrow, 2nd position, might make that first, does make that first. So Oliver did run out wide, and so Winrow is able to switch his way through now into the race lead. And once again with a better drive off of the final corner, could be the 33 continuing to lead. 7,000 a second separated them at the line, and now into the mix comes Phil Ingram. Currently running in 3rd position, might well be 2nd, getting past Oliver on the race down into the 2nd. And indeed the 3rd corners. Phil Ingram up now into 2nd position as they head their way through the right-hander and now onto Lakeside as they head their way down into the island bend. It's Oulton on the inside. It's of course the number 5 of Ingram on the outside, and as quick as Ingram was into 2nd position, he's almost been ejected straight back out of it as well. So the number 5 returned to 3rd position beautifully there by Oulton as they head their way down into the Shell Oils corner. And it is still then the 1-2-4 of Ben Winrow leading this race. 14 minutes and 15 seconds left to go, still plenty of time. Of course, these drivers, they're just out there battling as you please and putting on quite a show, it must be said. As there was Tim Steele defending in the background, trying to keep Rob Good at bay. At present, the 53 versus the 36. It is quite tight in that fight. The lead, by the way, outside of that, in the 270 category, is going the way of David Hall at present. James Hall is down in 2nd position in the category. You can see that in 14th and 15th overall. Amanda Anderson is in 3rd position in category. Just so you're fully aware as to how things are unfolding during this race. But you can't take your eyes off of this incredible battle. Straight down the inside then goes Ingram and now moves up into 2nd spot. Running out a little bit wide at the final corner, might compromise his exit. And there could be an opportunity for once again the switch for Oulton to come back through in the second spot. This time, though, it seems a little bit more settled. There is Everett around the outside. She tries to complete the move on Denham. And at the moment, it does seem as though Caroline Everett is able to complete that move in that green and blue car. So it is indeed Caroline Everett then up into 5th position and confirmed as they work their way through Cascades onto Lakeside, down into the Island Bend, and then Shell Oils through that fast left-hander. 4-way fight for the race lead. I mean, realistically, you can't really chuck out those behind, but we're starting to see maybe the pace for some of those. It might be a little bit too high. Simon Sharrock is no longer a part of this fight, so really it's 9 for the race lead. I get the feeling by the time we get down to the checkered flag, as we've passed the halfway point of the race now, it won't be 9. We might see a few more not quite able to keep up with the ruthless pace and brutal racing that we're seeing from this group. It takes a lot of concentration to battle like this, to battle so constantly, especially around a circuit like Oulton Park. If this is somewhere like, obviously, the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, where it's so big, it's so wide, it's so open, you can do all this racing and it's not that exhausting. It's just kind of like, oh, it's a pack race around here, you can imagine what it's like around there. It's a very different style of racing. Even though you're getting all those position switches, it's not quite as exhausting. With how things are when it's so narrow, this circuit is hard to drive by yourself, let alone when you've got 7 other drivers around you all jostling for the same position. And also, it's not as if you're battling for 6th or 7th with a group of people. You're battling for the race lead. A lot of curb being taken then from Rob Good. But now the move is complete, and Good has got past on Tim Steele. Back to the race lead then. It's Winrow. It's still Phil Ingram behind. Caroline Everett was trying to go for 4th position, trying to get past the 150 of Paul Goldstein. Couldn't quite do it there. As fast as that comes in from the number 33 of Oulton, as we would expect. Flying at the moment is Oulton. This is slightly back down the order though, and the battle in the 270s. Of course, it will be the 18 at the moment leading this race of David Hall. Whoa! And there is a lot of debris flying all over the place there on the exit of the first corner. So clearly there was a little bit of front to rear contact. Going back to the fight though for the race lead in the 310s, and it's of course a bit of a lock up there from Oulton. Sliding out just a little bit whilst trying to go on the attack once more for 2nd position. Just getting a big lock up. Paul Goldstein might get a great exit here from the Britain chicane. Might well find a position through and up into 3rd position. Can't quite make that stick. Just 10 minutes left to go in this opening race of the 7 Racing 310R and 270R UK Championship of the day. We still have another one left to go, so it's kind of one of those ones like, you've got to keep the car relatively clean here. You know, you've got another race to deal with later on in the day. Can't get too silly with it, but of course, whilst you're in the race, all heads can go out the window a little bit, and you just muscle your way through, kind of find your way past. Thankfully, these cars are quite repairable if you're going to have any drama, like what we saw with the debris flicking out there at turn 1. Yes, there was a fair amount of debris there in that instant back in the 270s, but it won't be any major dramas. It'll be fine. They'll be able to get that one sorted, and we can keep our eyes focused on 3 wide for the race lead. My goodness, Winrow there is defending to the inside as the number 5 of Phil Ingram has the speed coming out of the corner. Oulton as well, the 3rd car in that train, as they run over a little bit of the debris on the race down into Denton's and then into Cascades. It still then will be Winrow leading this race. The up and under coming in potentially from the black and orange there of Phil Ingram. This is back to the battle for the racing in the 270s. The 47 then, Amanda Anderson, is now the race leader in the 270 category. You've got David Hall and then James Hall behind the top 3 in that category as they all continue their fight. Also is the 104 of Neville Sykes out wide though. In the battle for the 310s, once again goes Phil Ingram as they try and go around the outside for the race leader. Shell Oils could tell you that was never going to work, but still, I respect the attempt. But alas, it is still 2nd position then for Phil Ingram I know over the line they were very tight, but I think Ingram was able to work his way back through and into second position by the time they got through the first corner. It is still Winrow leading the race. 8 minutes then left to go in this race. I believe by the time they cross the line, it will be 4 laps left of this race. So 4 more laps of drama, of excitement, of this level of fun. Well, let's keep this up as we keep our eye on the 4-way fight for the 270 race victory. And now back to the 8-way fight, so 9-way fight rather, for the race victory in the 310s, as they continue to wrestle their way through the opening goals, or the final couple of corners of this lap before they'll get 4 laps left to go. It's still going to be Winrow leading, from Ollivant behind, from Ingram rather behind, then Ollivant. Actually, Ollivant's dropped back now into 4th position, I'll correct myself, because Goldstein has worked his way up into 3rd position. Switch for the race lead in the hands of Ingram? Not quite yet. Goldstein's able to hang on to 3rd position behind as well. So the 1-2-4 of Ben Winrow, leading from Ingram, leading from Goldstein, leading from Ollivant, then from Denman, then Everett, then Good, then Steele, then Riddington. That is the 9 cars that are on your screen right there. All 9 of them battling for the race victory with 7 minutes left to go in this race. Incredible scenes here at Oulton Park, and very, very exciting racing, it must be said. But there comes a time when you need to be like, okay, this is fun. I want to win now, and I'm not messing around. Where do these drivers start to cross the line? I expected there to be a lot more breaks in this group, and I mean that in the sense of I expect to see a lot more time differential. I didn't expect to see 9 cars separated by 2.2 seconds, 18.5 minutes into a 25-minute race. I would have expected a few of these to have spread out just a touch over the start of the second half of this race, basically, as it's still Winrow leading from Ingram, leading from Goldstein, leading from Ollivant, the top 4 at present. There was 5th position in Denman. Caroline Everett there in 6th position. She's got the pace to move up into the top 5. We've seen that before a few times, and her position in the championship. This is back then into the 270s. Amanda Anderson in the 47 leads from James Hall, from David Hall, and then of course Neville Sykes behind. 20-second gap back to McCulloch, and a big lock-up for the race leader there. The 1-2-4 of Winrow having a huge lock-up. It was a double front lock-up, both left and right, locked up and crossed up, heading down into the final corner. Across the line they go. 5 minutes and 30 seconds left to go. 3 laps left of the opening race of the day here, as they'll head their way through the opening corner. It's Winrow leading from Ingram still, but of course Goldstein is right in that mix, currently trying to hang on to 3rd position from Ollivant, who's trying to get back around the outside, and it is still going to be Goldstein in that 3rd position. Incredible that they were able to keep that clean. Again, the fact that it was too wide, a couple of rows deep, is what just makes this so tricky to navigate sometimes. Here comes the switch for the race lead in the 270s. That was a fantastic move, and it is indeed complete. So that was the 16 of James Hall, straight around the outside of Amanda Anderson. And so now find themselves into the lead of the 270 category. Out wide though, that I believe will be Good. I think might have been running out wide there in the 36. Trying to get around the outside of Caroline Everett in 6th and 7th position. So I think that's where that car's dropped out wide. Again, I said it earlier on the race, you've got to be careful with running too far wide there, because you can get beached a touch on the transition between the tarmac and the grass back at that point. So Ingram has dropped back down. Ingram's dropped right the way back down. What has happened to Ingram, who I was going to say this because obviously Ingram's had a few attempts at the race lead and has been unable to take advantage of any of them, which now means that it is Goldstein's turn to have an attempt at the race lead, to have an attempt at maybe winning this fantastic race at Oulton Park. I can see in the background, that's where Ingram's ended up. The black car with the orange roll cage is way off the rear of this train, so clearly it's had a fair amount of drama. I'll update you with that one as and when we can. With 2 laps left to go though, It's Winrow across the line from Goldstein now, from Oulton as well. Then a little bit of a gap, 1 second nearly on the race back into Denman. Then Everett, then Riddington, then Steele, who now runs in 7th spot with then Good, and Phil Ingram losing 7 positions on that lap, now down into 9th place. Onto Lakeside they go, and that race into the island corner, the island bend, the left-hander here. And it is still Winrow, bit of a slide there, able to hang on to the race lead at present as they flick onto the brakes and then into the right-hander. So close between these lot, but alas, it is still Winrow leading. They do have a little bit of lap traffic in the hands. I believe that might be of McCulloch. It might not be though. It could well be Wood. We'll have to update you on that one. I think it's more likely it would be Wood based on where they are on the lap. Compared to the others, so there is a little bit of lap traffic regardless for this group to try and navigate, and there goes the blue LED boards to confirm that. So basically, if you can hop, skip and jump out of the way, that would be fantastic to avoid getting in the way of this brilliant fight. There is Steele, there is the 36 of Good, and these two fighting now for 7th position on the road. Riddington having moved up and is now checked out from this group. It's 3 for the race lead, 2 behind for 4th and 5th. As we prepare to head on to the final lap of the race, in all likelihood, we'll probably have 5 for the race lead on that final lap, and we'll get those final attempts for these drivers to try and work their way through in. Strap yourselves in for what is going to be, I'm sure, a very exciting final lap of this race. 1 minute and 40 seconds left to go on the clock. Across the line they go to begin the final lap of this race here at Oulton Park. Winrow defending down the inside. Goldstein on the outside as they head their way into the opening corner of this final lap. And it was full send from Winrow there, as Oliver is also going to try and throw his way back up in the 2nd spot with the outside line at Cascades. That's not going to work. Caroline Everett as well with the fastest lap of the race now finds herself in 4th position, having just got past Denman as well. So Everett now runs in 4th in this fight. That is the only position change on the opening lap of the race. Here comes Goldstein once again to the outside as they head their way into Island Bend. Not feeling the requirement to send it all the way around there. A little dab of the brakes to make sure they stay in behind Winrow there. Over the line, by the way, it obviously was classed as Goldstein needing my 6,000 a second, but I can definitely tell you it is indeed Winrow at the front end of this field. By the way, down in the 270R category, James Hall has been given a 5-second post-race time penalty. Currently runs in 3rd position in the category, but still 5-second post-race time penalty. We'll come back to that in a moment because we'll have to see that one across the line also. Here they go then, onto the brakes and then flicking it through the Hislop chicane. Now through the likes of Knickerbrook and then up to Clay Hill. That very shiny gold car of Goldstein trying to find a way past Winrow at the moment to try and steal victory away. The timer ticks down. It'll be hitting 0 in a few moments' time, as will the opportunities be as well. They go through Druids, the double right-hander. They head their way down into the final turn at Lodge. The defensive line coming in from Winrow, our current race leader, sends it in deep as they head their way through and into the final corner. Will the up and under work for the 150? It's going to be a drag race to the line that might see Winrow take victory here in the 310R category. Super close across the line. Who's it going to be? It is Winrow by 0.02 of a second across the line. That entire group, the 5 cars, separated by less than 3/4 of a second. Incredible stuff in the 310R category, but of course the racing is not done yet. Back then into the 270R category, it's Amanda Anderson at the moment leading from Hall as they head their way through into the final corner. And I think Anderson, who's been leading for such a long time in this category, could well be across the line by a small margin once more. Sees the checkered flag first, and Anderson will win in the 270R category here at Oulton Park. Incredible race in both of our categories, and very, very exciting indeed. Edge of your seat racing, that is for sure. There is a look though at your overall winner, at your 310R winner as well, and of course a brilliant drive pieced together from Ben Winrow in the number 124 car. Superb drive. Paul Goldstein though did give it a good go. alas, couldn't quite find the right opportunity to find that way through. But again, that was mostly down to the excellent defending coming in from our race leader. Obviously 25 minutes, and that gap was never more than a second. As we will look at the provisional results then for the 310R, 270R UK Championship racing results here in the 7 Racing Championship. We'll have a look at Ben Wimrow, who's the race winner then provisionally. Goldstein in second, then Ollivant, then Everett, then Denman. The top 5 across the line, separated by less than a second. We'll head back to Fraser Riddington in 6th position with Tim Steele in 7th after starting the pole position, dropping down the order to 7th. And then it's Rob Good, Phil Ingram and Sharrock there, of course, in 10th position. Of course, this all being in that 310R category because we've got Parker, we've got Anderson and we've got Curley to deal with before we get to the winner in the 270R category. Amanda Anderson there in 14th position, but of course first in their own respective categories. Of course, the 18 there of David Hall and James Hall, despite getting that 5-second post-race time penalty, would drop down. I think it won't cost him the position to Neville Sykes, who was just about 5 seconds off the rear end. And then it's Sparta, McCulloch, and of course Wood there, the 20th and final position, unfortunately for the number 12 there of Merton Wood, going a lap down, unfortunately, in that race. We will be back racing, though, of course, in the 310 and 270R Championship a little bit later on in the day at 5:20. Before then, if you like your 7 racing action, of course, we've got the 420Rs back out in action at 4 o'clock here in Oulton Park. Until then, though, thank you very much. We'll see you in a bit. Bye-bye.